All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up now. They'll match your first deposit up to $250. Did you watch the Inside the Birds pregame show yesterday? Geoff Mosher, Trey Thomas, Adam Kaplan, Greg Codesell. Very well done. Great job, guys. And, of course, every day, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. The new Inside the Birds pregame show, Sundays at 10. Now, Jeff, is that every Sunday at 10, or is that going to move when the Eagles play 4 or a night game?
Hey, Mike, how's it going? It is going to be 2 hours before kickoff for every game. So most times it will be 10. Other times when it's an afternoon game or an evening game, it'll be 2 hours prior to kickoff.
Gotcha. Okay, well, good job with that yesterday. I was impressed with the production, and obviously the insight was very good. So congrats on the new show there. Couple of things we got to get into. We got a shorter segment on Football at 4, so let's dive into it. As Doug Pederson spoke today, I don't know. I'm going to put Pederson at the top of the list of the problems from yesterday. I mean, what is the decision to go with Driscoll and Herbig on that right side? Is that a last-minute thing, or do you get the insight that was the way they planned this if, in fact, Lane Johnson couldn't go?
Well, I do think it was planned that if Lane Johnson couldn't go, it was definitely going to be Jack Driscoll. I mean, we have spoken at length throughout this weird training camp, Mike, about Driscoll and how much Jeff Stout loves him and how much they believe in him. And something I wrote yesterday, after the game on InsideTheBirds.com is don't look at that as a we don't trust Jordan Mailata completely yet, or we're disappointed by Jordan Mailata. They're just really impressed and pleasantly surprised by how well Jack Driscoll played in the camp and how well he had grasped the concepts and his athleticism coming out of Auburn. So they really liked him. Now, the Herbig versus Matt Pryor thing to me, I think is really, really confusing. I get that Matt Pryor really did not distinguish himself at camp. I also think you're not exactly set up to succeed when they bump you over to left tackle for a week and you've never played left tackle even in college, and now you have to do it. So I don't think they did him any favors. And it seemed to me they prioritized someone who may have had a better camp in Nate Herbig over someone who has more experience in Matt Pryor. And that surprises me because you can't convince me as just someone who's just an onlooker and not even at camp that Nate Herbig was so much better than Matt Pryor at camp that it's worth sticking him in to make his first start ever and taking away the experience that Matt Pryor had. I thought a lot of some of the issues that you saw on the right side of the line were communication breakdowns or unfamiliarity, whether it's twists or stunts or delayed blitzes. And I think he just would have had a better shot at having, and maybe it's not that much of a difference, but a better shot if Matt Pryor is the guy at right guard there.
Yeah, is there any, other than him just saying Herbig played well, I mean, I don't know, did anybody wonder if he was being disciplined? I mean, and then he went on to say that Herbig played well. Now, we had Barrett Brooks on earlier. He did not concur with what Doug said. Now, Doug seemed to say, not only did he play well, the quote was, I thought Nate did well. Wasn't perfect. He's a smart guy. We'll continue with him at right guard. I mean, it sounded like not only did he think he played okay, that he's going to get another shot at it again.
Yeah, it's like it. It's surprising to me, although he did leave wiggle room. I think he said he was going to continue to get worked in there at right guard, but
yes,
he did give him a stamp of endorsement. And I always say this, Mike, that coaches look at things a lot differently than we do. And I'm not disagreeing with you or Barrett. I looked at Nate Herbig, watched some tape today, and I thought, man, that was not good. And he also looks a little heavy. But a coach looks at it, and they take all 60, 70 reps, right, and they weigh them equally. So Nate Herbig was on the field when Carson Wentz threw 2 touchdowns and got his man on that play, but didn't get his man on 2 plays or 3 plays, right, that didn't go well. And so it all gets kind of weighted evenly. Whereas we look at, well, where were the breakdowns? And it really stands out more when a guy gets beat than when he's just on the field during a touchdown or a run or something like that. So that's how Doug Pederson and Jeff Stoutland look at it and convey it to the media. But I know inside they cannot be thrilled with what they saw from Nate Herbig. I'll even say I think Jack Driscoll, before he went out, even though he had some, there was one blitz he didn't pick up, and he thought the slide protection was going one way, and he went the other way. You're going to get that. But I thought he held up his end of the bargain better than Nate Herbig did.
What is the fix for this offensive line? Is it Lane Johnson coming back? Is that the fix? And I do wonder what took so long to get whatever he needed scraped out of his ankle.
Yeah, Trey Thomas was very, very vocal about that on our Inside the Birds Live pregame show yesterday. We tried. We had a little technical issue. We tried to put the video that Lane Johnson tweeted out August after the first scrimmage of Lane, dancing in the locker room. I think you guys all saw that. He was, getting his dancing on. And Lane's like, how can you be doing that if you are about to be having an ankle surgery or, you've got this tender ankle or something's not right and you're going to have it worked on? And then why would you be having this surgery if it was an issue last year, which it was? Why are you having it in August? And that's a question only, the Eagles can answer and Lane can answer, but it's certainly something that you have to look at with a jaundiced eye and say, that just doesn't make any sense.
So they scored 17 points with this porous offensive line. So how did they get away from what they were doing? I mean, I think to me that's more of a problem. Fine, the offensive line was not very good, but you scored 17 points with that group on the field and looked pretty good doing it. So there was a path to victory even with those guys out there. What went wrong?
Yeah, so this is what I've seen, Mike, and even looked into a little bit. And I think I've listened to you a little bit today, and I've agreed with you on a lot, where I would probably not even disagree, but maybe change the hierarchy. I put Carson, number one, as the problem because his 2 interceptions were directly the result of 2 Washington touchdowns that you could fairly argue don't happen if he doesn't give them that short field and throw those bad passes because – Washington did not move the ball very well at all. They scored. You were right. They scored 27 points, and you're like, how did they do that? And it's a fair question because they had fewer first down, fewer yards, and a lower yards per gain average than the Eagles for the afternoon. But those 2 passes came on first down, and they were throws, and he was not under duress on either one of those throws. So I don't think that the game changed a whole lot offensively other than that, because even though the Eagles were up 17-0 at one point, you can go rewatch it. I mean, Carson was getting obliterated on those series even when he did put the ball in the end zone. What changed was you get hit, you get hit, you get hit. You see, eventually Jack Del Rio was like, all right, you know what, we gave up 2 touchdowns, but we also hit this guy about 6 times and sacked him 2 other times. I bet you he's going to make a mistake eventually. That's what defensive coordinators think, especially good ones who are patient. And that's what happened. Carson made 2 bad mistakes. That may have been the result of taking a lot of hits, but again, under duress on either of those throws. And the one to Jalen Reagor, I know this for a fact, that was an out route. It was not a comeback curl. There was no way Reagor could have done a better job on that because his momentum is taking him toward the sideline, not the ball. That was a ball that Carson left way too inside, and that's the only way Ronald Darby could have gotten.
It's year 5 for Carson, and it almost seems like we're seeing the same Carson Wentz. When DeFilippo was here, we heard, he was hard on him. He was tough on him. Who's teaching him what to do? Like the quarterback's coach, isn't it his job to say, hey, you got to learn to throw it away? If there's a screen pass that's getting blown up, throw it towards their feet. Whose job is it? And clearly they're not doing a good enough job at teaching him to do it.
I mean, we've seen a lot, right? This is not Carson's first quarterback's coach, right? We know, and our Inside the Birds listeners know that, Carson's initial relationship with DeFilippo, his first quarterback's coach, was not an easy one. He was not wanting to take everything Flip was telling him in 2016. And then eventually he kind of learned after, his rookie year where he did throw a lot of picks and sailed a lot of passes that he's going to have to change a few things around. 2017, he has this amazing year. And some of it, you look back at 2017, he made those unbelievable, crazy plays that weren't necessarily checkdowns, right? But then DeFilippo goes, then it's Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe is gone. Now it's Press Taylor. I mean, we can sit here and blame coaches. That is their job. But at what point, and it was asked of Doug today, many times, especially by Ruben Frank the third time. At what point after 5 years do you blame the guy for not taking the coaching and stop blaming the coaches for the job?
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. Let's. I want to get your thoughts on the wide receiver situation because we were surprised Reagor was able to play. He ends up being a part of the offense. Jackson, 54%. Arcega-Whiteside, no show again. Hightower had a couple of catches or more snaps. What did you make of the wide receiver usage? And I don't know. It didn't seem like there was any rhyme or reason who he was going with out there.
Agree with you 100%, Mike. I mean, the one big thing we thought going into the game, and you said it earlier, I heard you, was that you're facing Ronald Darby, right? And we watched Ronald Darby for years here just get suckered by the slant. The slant, you can beat him with the slant, then you beat him with the sluggo late, right? You set him up with the short stuff and hit him with the long stuff. Well, the Eagles hit him with a long one early, and it was a double move that Reagor got on that 55-yard catch. But why did they not try it, especially with their offensive line deficiencies, more slants, more screens, more short stuff? So I understand why you say, you put that on Doug Pederson as the number one culprit, and I think that's fair. I'm shocked by the look of an offense that seemed to look a lot like last year's offense when it's struggling. I mean, and I think you also said this too, Mike, and I agree with you. I think that there was a mentality of taking Washington lightly and looking ahead to Los Angeles, the Rams. I mean, why would you play Reagor when you were concerned about the shoulder this whole time, but you wouldn't play Miles Sanders, right? I mean, they should have used a running back yesterday, especially when Boston Scott got hurt. Why didn't they use Reagor a little bit? That was supposed to be the plan, to use Reagor in a ball carrier mode. But then all of a sudden, he was not going to play. Then all of a sudden, he's full go. Now he's only going to play half. It didn't make sense to me.
I want to get your thoughts on something Doug Pederson said last night after the game. He was asked about the disparity in run and pass plays, and he came up with a statement that said, I don't really know about if I'm calling a pass or run mid-game. I'm just worried about the execution. Do you think that this is just Doug speak where, he can get out of control with what he's saying and he doesn't really comprehend what he's saying? Or do you think he truly doesn't know if he's calling a run or pass in a game? Because if that's the case, I'd say that's a pretty big issue.
Well, I have heard Doug say similar things like that in the past on certain plays when he's asked about specific plays, because sometimes he puts an RPO in there, right, which is a run-pass option. And it could start off as a run, but if the numbers say pass because it's a light box, then that's Doug's way of saying I don't know what that byproduct at the end of the day is going to be. I called an RPO here, so there's either or. But that's not to me the way the question was phrased, right? I think I agree with you in that he was just asked about his overall philosophy on play calling there, and I think that was just Doug misspeaking. He is the play caller. I do believe he knows when he calls the play, whether, it may have a really complex name like right. Spider 2 Banana Y, but I think he's pretty sure whether it's a run or a pass.
Yeah, there's no question that that was a bonkers answer. Hey, I don't even know when I make the call whether I actually did call the run or a pass. I just kind of find out. Now, one thing I thought Barrett brought up, which was the fact that Doug makes the play calls, but that a lot of this, Carson maybe makes a lot of play calls too. I mean, he thinks that Carson kind of makes a lot of changes and switches at the line, and that some of these things that we're giving Doug some grief for, it's actually Carson changing the play.
Oh, that's definitely fair. I mean, you can see it even when you're watching the game, right? Carson steps to the line when he puts his two arms across his chest in an X form. Carson's always wanted to have the kind of autonomy over the offense that Peyton Manning would have over the Colts. And they've given it to him because they think he's that good. And to be honest with you, Carson really does get the Eagles out of a lot of bad plays at the same time. So it's not like he doesn't deserve the responsibility. I mean, you want your quarterback to be that cerebral that he is changing up the play. And I don't know if that's the problem. The problem is that when he changes it, once he drops back, is he just so hell-bent on pushing that ball into certain windows and not checking the ball down and not throwing it into the dirt when he has an opportunity that's where he's really hurting himself. I know, he got sacked 8 times yesterday. They're not all on the offensive line. There were a couple of coverage sacks, and there were just a couple where, there was one where the play is designed to look like a screen to the left, but really be a kind of a flare pass on the right to the tight end. And Kerrigan did a great job of just getting between Carson and Goddard and disrupting that pass. So what does Carson do? He tucks the ball and runs into a bunch of traffic and gets hit. Yeah. Why don't you just throw the ball at Kerrigan's feet right there? Dirt the ball, man. Live to see another down.
Yeah, that's and I mean, even Orlovsky, who's a huge Wentz guy, was criticizing him for the same thing. By the way, next gen stats, Eagles were pressured on 34% of the plays yesterday, which wasn't even the worst in the league. Cowboys 40%, Jets 44%, but the Eagles were pressured 34% of snaps yesterday. And you're right. I mean, so some of this, I thought Wentz took a hit early in the game on a 3rd down, and he was kind of jogging off the field, and he just did not seem right. And then after that, he really didn't play well. So I don't know. Maybe he took a hit that we'll find out somewhere down the road. That who knows? But after he took that big hit, and look, with all that, he got asked last night if he was skittish a little bit, and he said no. But I don't know, man. He just did. He was so on the first drive and so off the rest of the way that something just did not seem right. But that being said, Geoff, obviously the team looks terrible. You're on the road against a team that is not destined for greatness, or so we think. Do you watch that team in panic and say, you know what, maybe this team's got a lot more issues, or is this just, hey, you lost to the Dolphins last year and then you put the pieces together and you were able to figure some stuff out?
I think there's almost now more different new reasons to panic. I don't think the offense is going to be a total abomination, for 16 games. I'm with you. It wouldn't surprise me. Look, Washington's got a lot of good pass rushers. I know that the Rams have Aaron Donald, and Aaron Donald's great. You can double team him with guys, and he can still get by it. But it's not like they got 5 or 6 guys on that deep front the way Washington does. And of course, you can make some schematic adjustments, and Doug's pretty good with that. But now you flip the script and look at the defense, right? Brandon Graham is in the concussion protocol. Vinny Curry is really hurt. He's going to be out a couple of weeks. He had an MRI today. It's not looking great. So I'd be surprised if you see Vinny Curry. Well, I don't think you're going to see Vinny Curry against the Rams. So no Vinny Curry. You hope Brandon Graham comes back. But if there's no Vinny Curry and no Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett is still out, you're talking about a defensive end rotation that's going to be, Josh Sweat and Jannard Avery, and you'll have to probably bring up Joe Osman. I mean, that to me is disastrous. Maybe Malik Jackson can play a little bit defensive end, especially on the run, against the run on 1st and 2nd down. Because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when it was 4th and 2, and Rivera decided to go for it and he picked it up, Jannard Avery came into the game to play left defensive end. He's not built like he's 250 pounds, but he's like 5'11". He's more like a kind of pass rushing outside linebacker, 3-4. And they ran right to his side, and they were able to clear that side and get that. Not that he's the only one, but they were able to clear out that side and pick up the 1st down. He cannot be a starting defensive end if they want to stop the run. Yeah. And the Rams to run. So they got issues there now.
And by the way, anybody who watched Sunday Night Football, Aaron Donald's pretty good, and the Eagles' interior line not so good, especially on the side that Donald lines up on. So Herbig could have his hands full against Donald on Sunday. We'll get more into that game later on. Geoff is back on Wednesday with Football at 4. Andrew's in tomorrow. Adam's in on Thursday. It is Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. A lot of stuff happening with Inside the Birds. Check them out at Inside Birds on Twitter. And, of course, Geoff Mosher, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thank you, Geoff.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.